The question I have for myself, and I present to you, is why do we take it personally when we discover that we can't trust somebody? Is it their problem? You know, when the famous President Reagan said, "Trust but verify," to him, like moments of insecurity, about himself personally, and he couldn't trust the Russians. Why do we take trust issues so personally? We have that one scene in the gospel when the disciples are sent out. You go out, you preach the word, people don't like you. You just take the dust from your feet, you move up. Why can't we do that when we discover that somebody in our lives we can't trust? The other line, which is great, is he sends them out and he says, you offer people peace, and if they don't accept your peace comes back to you. He's not saying you offer a relationship, you offer the message, and they don't like you, then you should go on to the pity pot for the next 2 days and eat a dozen Twinkies. The question is, why do we take trust issues so seriously? I think first of all, it's because instinctually we need very early in life to get the message that there's a trusting mom and dad in our lives. And that there's a trusting brother or sister. That's a real disappointment. They need the same thing about us too, so let's not blame them, They can trust us as far as they can throw us too. And especially we've lost it in this culture, but the extended family. Again, I had this wonderful Armenian man, and he said, "Father, I had no friends when I was a kid. I had 50 first cousins." It was just, it's just. So again, why do we find trust so important? Because we're a herd people, right? We're made for the herd, and you just feel safer, and it's more likely to survive if you've got your herd, your wolf pack. And so there's kind of an instinctual need for us to learn that we can trust our wolf pack, our parents, our siblings, and the world, or at least our immediate world. And I think what happens here is, if early on in life we don't develop a sense of trust, then we become hyper-vigilant to every impression that somebody has let us down. You see what I'm saying? Is that maybe that's the problem. If we didn't develop a sense of trust when we were younger, maybe we're hyper-vigilant. And what happens here is this, is that when you're hyper-vigilant about putting your trust in people, we can get on everybody's nerves. Because he's 2 minutes late, you can't just trust him. He doesn't love me. She doesn't respect me. 2 minutes late, okay. You see what I'm saying? Is it impossible? I think we have to ask ourselves the question, what kind of trust issues did we develop when we were children, and which one, and are we hyper-vigilant now? And so for each one of us, one of my favorite spiritual writer, Father Henry Allen, he always wondered if his mother and father loved him. So he constantly would ask, even as a young child, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" And he later on wrote in life that he would say that because he feared death. He thought, well, if my mommy and daddy love me, I'll live. So his whole life was, do you love me? Do you love me? So in many of his journals, he is just so hyper-vigilant and sensitive to any kind of disappointment. There's this one scene, he was in France, how he suffered. He's in France, and he has this friend who's going to meet him, and he writes about him. The friend, it was just a regular guy who was married, couldn't show up, but it was all, kind of just hyper-vigilance. What is this lack of my friend showing up in France? I think I got you, but why are we so hyper-vigilant? When we discover that there's people we cannot trust, why do I drink the poison of resentment myself? Why is the fact that someone hurt me or disappointed me, why does it affect me? You got enough money in the bank, got enough grades, got God's grace, got a few other friends. That's just the question. But again, it's a very complicated question, but I just wonder why the knowledge that somebody is someone I should not trust. Why should it ruin my day? Especially if there's, unless they stole your money or something like that. So I'm just saying, just that kind of that sense. Why does it destroy my day? Because I think we're hypersensitive, because we may not have learned trust from our parents, and also because we're herd people, we just feel better when we're in a herd, and any sense of lack of trust in the herd upsets us. And so I ask that question. It's data. That's all it is. You've learned that you can't trust this guy. Go have a nice meal and say, oh, this is a friend you can't trust. Why is it so disturbing? I don't have a total answer here, but I just think it's illogical. And again, feelings are not logical and they're authentic, but I just offer that to you. I offer that up to you. I did the funeral for Mary Abel. She was a parishioner. Her house was on fire, burned down, and I just did the funeral. And the son got up and gave the eulogy. And he said one day when his mother saw him kind of, not being strong, she went up and says, "Cowboy up." Now, I'm just saying this now. Again, I don't want to be. You cannot just snap your fingers when it comes to trust issues. I know that, but I'm just trying to maybe just give you a little food for thought. Why, if I objectively can figure out this person here I can't trust, why does it ruin my day today? And so for each one of us, I think that while it's instinctually our need to have a herd that we can trust for survival, I think at a certain point in life, we have to understand that is, again, a modern term of codependency. The fact that I can't trust you, why does that affect me? I'm not dependent on it, I have to have a life of my own. A life of my own in the embrace of God. And so for each one of us, we cannot trust everyone. And also, the feelings that I can't trust somebody could be as my perception. If somebody says no to me, maybe they just couldn't do it. They'd love to do it. But again, am I hyper-vigilant? Everyone's got to love me. Everyone's got to, be to protect me. And I just, I say to myself, because this gentleman, Mary's Abel's son, lives in Texas, so Monsignor, cowboy up. You can't trust everybody. And remember, maybe they are trustworthy, but they just couldn't fulfill your needs today. That's all it is. Why take it so personally? And so, if we are hyper-vigilant, then we are so upset by the fact that there's a lack of trust in our lives. I would say that we go to the gaze of God. Remember, the gaze of mom, when she looks at us for the first time, that begins to communicate the sense of trust. You know, the way she looks at you. It's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. That gaze of a mother. And today we gaze upon Jesus in the image of divine mercy. And a wonderful woman who wrote English, who was the first really English author, Julian of Norwich, right? She looks at Jesus and she says, Jesus, she gives Jesus the best compliment. He calls him mother. With her distinction, she's a great mystic writer. She looks at Jesus as mother. And we look, he's gazing at us, and we say, Jesus, I trust you. Everybody else may cash, but Jesus, I trust you. You look at that face, Jesus, I trust you. Now, I say that knowing that you're not going to obey me totally here. You're not Jesus the ATM machine. You're not Jesus the code machine. I don't trust that you're going to give me everything I want. I trust you. So I look at Jesus with the eyes of a mother looking at me, and I say, life is hard, people are imperfect, I've got trust issues. Can you help me be healed of these trust issues? That between you, myself, and a few good friends who, again, won't disappoint me once in a while, I'll disappoint them. It's all going to work out. And this Julian of Norwich, who looks at Jesus as mother, has those two great lines. The fall and the rising are one unity. It's all going to work out. All manner of things shall be well. And so Jesus looks at us as a mother and says, it's all going to work out. You wet your diapers, no big deal. We'll deal with that. You threw spaghetti against the wall, we'll clean it up. You spilled your, don't worry, it's all going to work out. And so I would suggest to you that part of the healing is, looking upon Jesus as a mother in his gaze and allow him to communicate. It gives you a sense of trust. A Polish friend of mine who gave me this, a Polish priest, Father Kowalski, he helped me get involved in Divine Mercy. He said, you look at the signature under the image, Jesus, comma, I trust in you. He said, have you ever thought it's this? Joe, Mary, Sam, comma, I trust in you. Signed, Jesus. At a certain point in life, Jesus is like a mom or a dad who says, I trust in you. Here's the keys to the car. That first moment when you have the keys to the car, and that's what Jesus said, not yet, maybe the golf cart. But again, it's a two-way street. Charlie, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. And then there's a healing. And when it doesn't work out, when God seems not to be giving me what I want, or when God doesn't respond the way I want, why should I take it personally? Now, I don't really approve this message, because I do. I'm just saying, let's try not to with his grace. And so today, as we celebrate Divine Mercy Sunday, we ask ourselves, do we have trust issues? Are we hypervigilant about every single thing that happens in this world and take it so personally? And then when there is really a loss of trust, why do I have to take it personally? And am I just simply codependent where I need this wolf pack and my life depends on it? But in reality, it doesn't. But emotionally, And so I suggest that we constantly go to our mother Jesus and gaze upon him and experience once again as an infant those eyes that give us a sense of trust. And remember that first day when somebody trusted us to draw. May God in his goodness heal us of any of our trust issues.